Located within the bustling confines of Melbourne, Flagstaff Gardens, dating back to almost 100 years, and was established in 1862. Flagstaff Gardens witnessed the evolution of technology in Victoria. The garden's lawn stretches out up to almost 5 kilometres in an informal style that Melbourne's utilised as the perfect lunch spot today. The garden features more than just a beautifully maintained lawn. It shows off greenery such as eucalyptus trees, avenues of elm trees, rose beds, and an important monument. Flagstaff Gardens also provides public use recreational spaces such as bowling club, playground, tennis courts, and electric barbecues used for outdoor cookouts. The name Flagstaff Gardens originated from the first flagpole established in 1840 at the settlement's highest point, part of a signalling system between the growing town of Melbourne and ships sailing into port. The Flagstaff Gardens traces back to the commencement of white settlement in Victoria. In 1836, it became the first burial ground in Melbourne for the remains of the earliest settlers. Named as the Burial Hill, the first funeral occurred in 1836. Due to the rapid growth of settlement, the site held 7 bodies, proving the inability to match the growing numbers of the colonizers. As a solution, a larger burial ground was founded in 1838, situated in Elizabeth Street, known today as Queen Victoria Market. A couple years later, a pioneer's monument was built in remembrance of the ones who were concealed in Burial Hill, with the engraved quoting in memory of some of the earliest of the pioneers of this colony whose remains were interred in this spot.
In 1840 to 1857, Flagstaff was put in a place that served as part of a signalling system between Melbourne and ships arriving at Williamstown port. Back in the days, mail used to take several months to arrive from Britain to Australia. As a result, the arrival of ships was extremely exciting to the people. When a ship entered Port Phillip, it raised its flags to be recognized. It also communicated its departure port to the operator at the Port Gellibrand Bluestones signal station using a myriad code of signal flags. The hill was soon named Flagstaff Hill, and it became a hotspot for shipping news and exchanging letters from England with their loved ones. The gardens are of a great significance to Victoria history, prominently depicting the social and technological changes experienced in Melbourne. We conducted a site analysis to learn more about the locations. The contours, the street access, site context, and various access points were all researched. The contours demonstrate that the Flagstaff is a position on a higher land, surrounded by tall structures or buildings. The site context was considered in terms of understanding where it is and what is happening inside the Flagstaff on this particular day. Last but not least, the entry points were obviously critical because they determine how people enter and exit the Flagstaff Garden. It was shown that it can be accessed from all sides of the area, including William Street, Lathrop Street, King Street, and Dudley Street. There are also 2 staircase entrances, which are the 2 blue arrows that can be entered from King Street.
After learning about the history and getting a basic understanding about the site, it is time to talk about what it was like when we actually went for the site visit. The time of the year that we went for the site visit was between summer and autumn, so the weather was a little bit chilly, and we saw that some trees had started changing colors and there were fallen leaves on the ground everywhere. And since the garden is located on a hill, the way of entering the garden feels very different depending on which side you chose to enter from. Personally, I really liked entering from the west side of the garden, because on the west side there is a massive wall and I'll have to walk up a tall staircase in order to get into the garden. But once I got up to the top, I suddenly see this beautiful greenery in front of me, taking all the stress that I had away. And walking inside the garden is quite a unique experience, because although we are already inside the garden, we still didn't feel completely separated from the busyness of the city. We could still hear the sounds of cars driving through and the constructions happening nearby. As for the size of the garden, it isn't too big, but it is the perfect size for a busy city like Melbourne. Despite the small size, the garden has pretty much everything that you'll need. For basic facilities, you can find water taps, trash cans, toilets, and sitting areas around the whole garden. We also saw people doing all kinds of different activities there, such as kids playing in the playground, people walking their dogs, exercising, playing music, or just enjoying their afternoon. And that's not all. The garden is also a place that you can learn. You'll find interpretation boards throughout the whole garden, teaching you about the history and the nature there. Nowadays, the Flagstaff Garden has already become an indispensable part of Melbourne and will continue to serve as the perfect relaxing spot and bring new energy to the city.